What's up guys, Sean from the Nerd Lair here, and welcome to my new series, Small Talk Reviews. On this series, I'm going to be making small talk about games that I really enjoy that I don't think deserve more than a 5 or 6 minute video. So with that being said, let's get to some small talk about Tatsunoko vs. Capcom on the Nintendo Wii. Enjoy!
Back in the day, it seemed like every few years we would get a new installment to the Versus series, Marvel vs. Capcom. The games are highly revered in the tournament fighting video game scene. It was a really fun concept having Marvel comic book characters like Spider-Man and Wolverine fighting against Capcom video game characters such as Mega Man and Ryu. When 2008 rolled around, it was time for another Versus game. And to everyone's surprise, we got Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. Capcom decided to have their characters fight against Tatsunoko anime characters from the 1970s and 80s that every gamer pretended to know so they could be that person that interjected into conversations that they weren't a part of so they could say, actually, Ken the Eagle is a super well-known anime character in Japanese culture. I knew that, but I just wanted to make sure that you knew that I knew, you dumb fuck. But for those of you who don't know, Tatsunoko is a production company that was founded in the early 60s that produces anime still to this day. So if you don't know what a Yatterman is, don't feel bad because no one else did either, despite what the PJ bottom wearing neckbeards say. This meant that the roster for this game was very obscure and super interesting, and I was only familiar with 2 characters at the time that this game came out. Kassan, because I saw the live action movie back in high school that was awesome, and Speed Racer, who sadly is not in this game. But another thing I loved about this Versus game in particular was Capcom's roster of characters because there was a bunch that weren't seen in previous games, such as Beautiful Joe, Zero from Mega Man X, PTX from Lost Planet, Soki from Onimusha Dawn of Dreams, and Yami from Okami. This game was only released on the Nintendo Wii, and there was a few reasons for this, but the main one was that the engine that they used was more simplified than the previous games. Marvel vs. Capcom was known for their insane wombo combos. If you wanted to be good at the game, you had to practice. But Tatsunoko vs. Capcom was much more casual, being able to perform awesome attacks through 1 or 2 button presses. I think aside from only being on the Wii, the more casual nature of this game turned a lot of people off who were already diehard fans of the originals. And that was a big draw to the original series, was the learning curve that you had to overcome in order to be good at characters you wanted to play. And despite Tatsunoko vs. Capcom being easy and casual, did that mean it wasn't fun either? Me personally, I would say it depends. For someone such as myself who does enjoy skill-based 2D fighting games, I still found it to be enjoyable. I enjoyed it so much, in fact, that I went out of my way to buy the official arcade fighting stick for this game made by Mad Catz. It was probably a little bit of an overkill to buy an arcade stick for a simple fighting game, but there was something I just really enjoyed about the simplicity of this game. There's just something about playing a fighting game with an arcade joystick that will always be fun, no matter how simple or difficult a game is. In my opinion, this game has a lot of charm. The graphics are a departure from the comic book art style that we were used to in the original games. Instead, we have 3D character models. I noticed myself playing the Tatsunoko characters more so just because of how interesting and foreign they were to me. Despite the game being more casual, it still retains the same format as the other games. Pick your team of 2 different characters and fight your way to the end. You're still able to tag team your characters on the fly throughout each match, chaining attack combos from characters who are currently being switched into the match, as well as initiating support attacks from characters who are not currently in play, and of course special characters that were only unlocked when you met certain requirements. There is one big difference in my opinion, and it's that this game feels a lot slower. Overall, Tatsunoko vs. Capcom is a solid entry into the Versus series. Even with the casual nature of the game being a lot easier for new players, it's still a solid fighting game that definitely deserves a wider audience. And it's a perfect entry-level fighting game for people who are wanting to get into the fighting game scene. Granted, since this game didn't sell super well at launch, it's a little bit harder to find, but if you do find a copy, it's going to be way less expensive than something that came out previously in this series. And with that being said, I give Tatsunoko vs. Capcom a 6.5 out of 10.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the very first episode of Small Talk Reviews. If you guys enjoyed it, again, hit that like button, subscribe down below, leave me a comment about the game that I talked about, or if there's a game you want me to make small talk about on a future episode, let me know down below in the comments as well. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time in the Nerd Lair.